What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to go over our 5 teams. So we're going to go over the raid and everything about it. So let's just delve right into it and start with leader skills. So leader skills, the main two that you want are resistance lead and defense lead. So the reason why these are really important is because most people, you're not able to get the efficient amount of stats on all of your monsters, specifically resistance. And resistance is really important in raid just to mitigate all the debuffs. So if you could bring a resistance lead to raid, that's really beneficial. So Tessarion is a really good damage dealer, and then also provides a 41% resistance lead, which is really nice to benefit the rest of the team. And then the defense leads, you could do the Fire Panda. I currently have Bastet on my team for the defense percent lead, and there's many others out there. For other resistance leads, you can just explore and just see what you have. But there's also like the Death Knights have resistance lead, and just the other ones that are out there. But yeah, the reason why the defense is so important is because the defense will mitigate the amount of damage the raid boss deals to your front line, because the less defense that they have, then Crush of Doom, which is one of the raid boss's abilities, will deal a significant amount more damage to your front line if they don't have high defense. So we'll just jump right into the raid, and then we'll discuss some of these teams even more. So the basics of a raid team, you want to have one pretty decent tank, 2 healers, 1 cleanser, and then 2 attackers or DPS units. So the reason why you want like just the 1 tank is just to have the 1 big meat shield in the front that you're just going to fill up with a bunch of stats, and they're supposed to just protect the rest of the team. So in this team, it's Darian. You roughly want to have 1,500 defense on your frontliners, especially if you only are going to put 2 monsters in the front line. Then you want them both to have about around 1,500 defense. So you can see here, Darian has 1,600, and then Chasun has almost 1,400. But if you're close to like 28,000 health or above, then having 1,400 defense is okay. And as you can see on Darian, he does meet that threshold of 1,500, and also meets that 28,000 HP threshold. So he will die sometimes, but the rest of the team could still manage to survive. But Darian is really good to put on your raid team, just because his passive, which is really nice, it decreases the amount of damage your team takes by 20%. So it just increases the amount of survivability that is offered to your team. And then he also provides the attack break and the defense break on his skill 1 and then skill 2. So your 2 healers, I would highly recommend having them on Violent, because you want your healers to have their heals up pretty much at all times. Because if one gets stunned, you want to make sure that the other one can provide a heal if your team starts to get low. So I have Chasun and Colleen on here on this team, and then for my middle team, I actually have 3 healers. I have Miyang, Bella, and Delphoy. But Delphoy I'm using as the cleanser instead of just as one of my priority healers. But you want to run your units on 70% resistance. But if you do have a Tessarion lead, then you could get away with 60% resistance. But you want to try to push as much resistance as you can, because the raid boss does do quite a bit of debuffs. So it's important to have as much resistance as possible. So you're just looking for heavy stats in HP and defense, specifically defense on your front line, and then getting that resistance up to 70%. So as you can see here, Darian's at 80%, but that doesn't matter. The 70% is more than enough. So yeah, and then the 2 healers, I would highly recommend putting them on Violent. My Colleen currently is not on Violent. I have her on the fight sets just to do a little bit more damage. But if you're not going to do Violent sets, then I would say that you should get to around plus 120 speed on your healer, so then they could still keep up with rotating their skills and keeping those heals alive. And then I would still recommend doing Violent though on your cleanser, because you want that cleanse to be up at all times. Because you don't want to do too many units on Violent. That's why I would suggest just doing your healers and your cleanser, because you want their skills to be up as much as possible. Obviously the healers so they can heal, and then the cleansers so that they can cleanse. You want them to rotate those skills. But for the damage dealers, don't put them on Violent, because one of the skills that the raid boss has, as you can see this timer going up in the top right, the little counter, every time your team takes 16 turns, then the raid boss is going to revenge against your team, and it will strip all the beneficial effects on your team, and then it will heal for how many beneficial effects it stripped. But one reason why Colleen is such an effective healer is because she also provides that heal block with her skill 2 on the raid boss. So building a team that has good debuffs is really important for raids. So as you can see here, like the Darien provided that attack break and defense break, and then Colleen also provides the attack break with skill 1, which is why a lot of people put her on Revenge, and then also the heal block on her skill 2. And then Hua is really nice for the speed break, and then for reducing the attack bar as well. And then the other damage dealer on this team is Lu Mei, and I just have her just on a vampire set so then she could self-heal, alleviate some of that healing that's needed by the healers, and she's just in there for the defense break and just doing some extra damage. So there's many damage dealers that you could use, and these are just the two that I pick. Hua is a lot easier to rune because she just needs some HP, some attack, a little bit of defense, and then mainly just speed, crit rate, and crit damage. So nothing too crazy needed for her. This is how I have mine runed. So I just did a little bit more HP for survivability. So I went speed, crit damage, and attack. I mean speed, crit damage, HP with big attack subs. Yeah, and the importance of raiding is to obviously get the enchants and grinds to make the runes that you have that much better. But if you have a bunch of enchants and grinds and no runes, then it's kind of pointless to raid. So that's why building your Giants team and Dragons team is a lot more important in priority in the beginning of the game, and then you could build your raid team to power up those runes that you've gotten in Giants and Dragons. So I also have a second team here. This is my safer team because I do have only one damage dealer, and then I have 3 healers. And then, yeah, so Miang is like a partial cleanser because she reduces all debuffs by 1 turn. And then Delphoy is in there for the absolute cleanse. And then Miang, Delphoy, and Bella all heal. I really like Bella as a healer. Not a lot of people do, but I do like that Bella is a smart healer. So, like, Delphoy will prioritize her cleanse because she wants to give everybody immunity, and that also provides a heal, but then she'll do that right at the beginning of the raid, and she won't have it available for when you actually need to heal your team. So Bella with her smart heals is actually really nice because when your team is actually low, and that's when you need the heal, and that's when Bella is going to heal. So that's really nice. I also have Bastet and Brienne on here because if I wasn't raiding with somebody else that had a resistance lead, then I could use Brienne as my resistance lead. If you have a Diaz, you could put Diaz in there instead. Like the Death Knights do have that global resistance lead. Then I also have Bastet in there for the attack break, defense break, the heal block, and then just to be that frontline tank because I've ruined her pretty tanky for RTA and really fast. So the speed doesn't really matter, but yeah, getting that resistance up there, the HP defense is important. So she just has the stats ready for frontline tanking, and then she also provides a lot of those utilities with the attack break, heal block, and defense break. And then she also does like a glancing hit as well. But then more importantly, she provides that defense global lead that like the Fire Panda does and stuff like that. So, but making sure that your front line has that 1,500 defense, which these are my 3 frontliners. I have Delphoy, what's her name, Bastet, and Brienne. So those are my 3 frontliners for this team. And the more frontliners you have, the less damage that they're going to take. Not the less damage that overall is being dealt to the front line, but the less damage that each monster in the front line will take. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the raid team. This is also my second account. The dragon one on the right is the second account that I just have playing on the side. So I just kind of raid by myself. So so then I don't have to like wait for anybody to press the play button. And I also, if I fail, then it's on me, and I don't have to get frustrated with other people failing during the raid, which does get frustrating when you spend a lot of time ruining your monsters properly, and then somebody comes in with really poor rune quality and poorly built teams, and just kind of messes up the raid for you. So that's why I have these, the 2 raid teams on my one account and then the other one on my other account. Yeah, but all of them fit that same criteria of the 2 healers, the 1 big tank, and then 1 cleanser, and then 2 damage dealers. So that's the same thing with this on the side here. So the Fire Panda providing that defense lead, really tanky, and then also with Chasun up front, again, really tanky. This one's on Swift and instead of Violent, but that's still okay because it's almost pushing that 120 speed threshold for, if you're not on Violent, then I would just recommend having plus 120 speed. Tasarion's in there for the resistance lead, because with his leader skill he does provide 41% resistance to everybody, so then you don't have to worry about prioritizing your runes to maximize your resistance. And then yeah, the other healers are Colleen, and then Chasun is in there, and then Delphoy's a cleanser. So there's a lot of cleansers out there. I like to use Lisa. That's probably my favorite one, but it's also the first one that I used when I first built my raid team. So that's probably why I like her the most. But any cleanser could work. So Lisa's really good. You could have Konamiya, which is the water Garuda, and you do get that for free as you go through the challenge quests in the beginning of the game. And then Delphoy's really good, and there's many other cleansers out there. You could have like Amarna, and I don't know, just whatever you have on your account can be utilized as a cleanser. But I would just go for ones that have lower cooldown, and you never want to put your cleanser in the front line. Typically, you don't want to put your cleanser in the front line because you don't want your cleanser to die. It's okay if like one of your healers die, like that might happen, but that's why you have 2 healers. So just in case one of your healers gets stunned or dies, and the other healer's still there to provide that support for the team. But if your one cleanser dies, then you're just going to ride out with those debuffs on your entire team, and you're most likely are going to fail if your cleanser dies. And then the damage dealers are there just so then the raid doesn't take like an hour. The damage dealers just help. The harder hitting your damage dealers are, then the faster the raid obviously is going to be. So you can. So I usually recommend like these beginner teams just to get people used to like building raid teams and understanding like the mechanics of why you build it certain ways, and then after that, then prioritize trying to build like the Balagur Jansen R5 team, or also known as BJ5, or the Katarina Balagur team, or the QB5, which is Kebahesenuf and Balagur. So there's many different variations of like speed raids out there, and but since I raid by myself and I don't have multiple Balagur teams on this account, then yeah, I just do this steady like 2-minute raids. So yeah, so overall, the main points to take away from this video is if you're first getting into raids, just know that you need 1,500 defense on your frontliners. If you have multiple monsters on the front line that you're going to use for a tank, I would recommend just doing like your one big tank, which is either going to be Zhang Fei, which is a Fire Panda, or Darien or Diaz, and then you'll have maybe like one of your healers on the front line. I like to use Chasun, but just making sure that you get those stats up there. And Delphoy's really good. She has really good high defense, so it's easier to get their defense up there to that 1,500 defense. And then you want their frontline HP to be around 28,000. You can get away with doing a little bit lower than that, but I mean, the lower your stats are, then the higher risk you are of failing. And then for your damage dealers, obviously don't have them like with plus 2,000 health. You want them to be closer to like 18,000 health. That's like my threshold that I hold personally. So to have them around like 18,000 health altogether is fine. And then you just want to do attack, crit damage, and attack. Their speed isn't that important, but Hua, her damage does scale off of some of her speed. So a lot of people like to use her because she provides the speed slow on the boss, and then also pushes back the attack bar. And when you put her on high speed, she could just take a lot of turns to deal a lot of damage. But yeah, so you do your frontline tanks, your one frontline tank, your 2 healers, your cleanser, and then your 2 damage dealers. And then if you're really struggling to stay alive in the raid, you could take out one of your damage dealers and maybe put another tank in there, or maybe do another healer, or just whatever you need in order to make sure that your R5 survives. Yeah, because there's nothing more frustrating than other players having to put you on their back because your team just consistently dies. And you want to make sure that you bring in some sort of global global leader skill to the raid as well. You don't want to just be, I don't know, you don't want to have like Bella as your leader because it doesn't have a leader skill. So you want to have somebody that has the defense buff or resistance buff. After that, you could do crit rate lead or attack percent lead. You don't necessarily want to do speed because the more turns that your team takes, then the counter on the Rageful Roar will go off on the raid boss, and then he'll absorb your buffs and then also heal himself, and that could just go wrong for you. All right, but I think we covered just about everything. If you have any questions, please put that in the comments below, and if you need help building an R5 team, I do provide optimizations for lots of accounts, so you can check the other videos in my video list, and you can see me actually doing optimizations. I do them live on Twitch, or I could do them off Twitch and just send you the video, whatever you would like to do. But you just send me an email to monsterbait27@gmail.com. I'll be happy to get in touch with you, and I can optimize your account, build your raid team. But yeah, just make sure that you're doing your Giants, Dragons, and TOA first, and then you can prioritize raid after that. Yeah, that's all I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. And if you have any comments, please let me know in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next video.